The highway stretched endlessly ahead, a black ribbon of asphalt flanked by thick clusters of trees on either side. It was well past midnight, and the world felt eerily silent, save for the steady hum of my car's engine and the rhythmic noise of tires meeting pavement. The occasional flicker of passing headlights in the opposite lane was the only sign of life, but even those moments were fleeting. I wasn't unfamiliar with late-night drives, but this one felt different. Oppressive, somehow. About halfway through the drive, I noticed it, flashing orange lights in the distance, faint against the darkness. My first thought was that there must be construction work or road maintenance ahead, hardly unusual on highways like this. But as I drew closer, I realized the lights weren't from road work. They were hazard lights, blinking erratically on a car pulled over onto the shoulder. As I approached, the vehicle came into clearer view. It was a white sedan, its exterior battered with dents and patches of rust that dulled the paint's original shine. The car sat at an odd angle, slightly tilted toward the road, its position almost haphazard. I slowed down instinctively, leaning forward to get a better look. The interior of the car was dark, and there were no obvious signs of anyone inside. No movement, no figures silhouetted against the headlights. It looked completely abandoned. Still, I couldn't help but glance at it in my rear-view mirror after I passed, the orange hazard lights pulsing erratically as though malfunctioning. Something about the blinking rhythm unnerved me. It felt too fast, too frenzied, like an urgent signal demanding attention. I dismissed the feeling, chalking it up to a mixture of exhaustion and imagination. Cars broke down all the time, right? There was nothing unusual about it. And yet, as the miles rolled on, I found myself replaying the scene in my head. Why hadn't I seen any sign of the driver? There hadn't been a gas station or rest stop for miles. The longer I thought about it, the less sense it made. Then, about 20 minutes later, I saw it again. My hands tightened on the wheel as the same white sedan came into view, pulled over on the shoulder with its hazard lights flashing. My heart skipped. It wasn't possible. There had been no exits, no turnoffs, nothing to explain how the car had gotten ahead of me. This time, the driver's door was wide open, swinging slightly in the breeze. As I passed, I slowed just enough to glance inside, my stomach twisting with unease. The back seat looked dark and empty, but just as I was about to look away, I thought I saw something. A faint shadow, barely visible, shifting inside the car. My breath caught as I quickly pressed the gas pedal, putting as much distance as I could between me and that unnerving scene. The unease settled in my chest like a weight as I sped down the dark highway, putting as much distance as I could between me and the unsettling sight of the abandoned car. It wasn't just the car itself that bothered me. It was the impossibility of its presence. The same white sedan, appearing twice, in places it logically couldn't have reached. I tried to push the thought out of my mind, to tell myself it was just a coincidence, but something about the blinking hazards had felt deliberate, almost like they were signaling me. The highway remained empty, except for my car, the silence broken only by the faint hum of the engine. My headlights carved through the darkness, illuminating the long stretch of asphalt and the occasional reflective road sign. The stillness should have been calming, but it only amplified my unease. Every time I glanced at the rearview mirror, I half expected to see the sedan's erratic flashing lights again. I distracted myself by focusing on the road, mentally calculating how many more miles I had to go before I'd reach home. The familiarity of the route offered some comfort, but it was fleeting. My pulse quickened when I noticed something ahead, a faint glow on the shoulder of the road. Another car. My stomach sank as I realized it wasn't just any car. It was the same white sedan. This time, it was positioned differently. The hazards were still blinking, casting their frantic orange rhythm across the pavement. But now the car was angled sharply toward the road, its front bumper nearly jutting into my lane. The driver's door remained open, swinging slightly in the breeze, and the faint outline of the back seat was barely visible in the glow of my headlights. I slowed instinctively, unsure whether to pass or stop. My gut told me to keep going, but curiosity tugged at me. I leaned forward, squinting at the car as I approached, trying to make out anything unusual. Then, just as I began to speed up, I saw it. A faint movement inside the back seat. It wasn't clear or distinct, just a shadow shifting against the dim interior, but it was enough to make my breath catch. My grip on the steering wheel tightened as I hit the gas, the sedan disappearing into the distance behind me. My heart pounded in my chest, the adrenaline coursing through me. What had I seen? Was it a person? An animal? The possibilities raced through my mind as I tried to make sense of the eerie sight, but the questions that haunted me most were the ones I couldn't answer. How had the car gotten ahead of me again? And if there was someone inside, why hadn't they made themselves known? The night pressed on, and I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was happening wasn't over yet. I gripped the wheel tightly, my knuckles turning white as I sped down the highway. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing louder than the hum of the engine. I couldn't stop replaying the image of the white sedan in my mind, the open door, the erratic hazard lights, and that faint shadow moving inside the car. Whatever was happening, I wanted no part of it. All I could think about was getting home. The road ahead stretched endlessly into the darkness, and for the first time all night, I felt a flicker of relief. There were no flashing hazards in sight, no sign of the eerie car. I leaned back slightly, trying to calm my nerves and focus on the drive, but just as I started to relax, I spotted something ahead, a glow on the shoulder of the road. My stomach sank. It couldn't be. I slowed down, dread creeping over me as the same white sedan came into view for the third time. It was parked in the same strange position, but now all four doors were wide open. The hazard lights blinked furiously, casting sharp bursts of light onto the surrounding asphalt. My headlights illuminated the interior as I approached, and I braced myself for what I might see. I slowed to a near stop, unable to look away. The back seat, which had seemed empty earlier, now held something. A pile of items, dark and indistinguishable at first glance. My pulse quickened as I realized they were clothes, scattered across the seat as though someone had hurriedly thrown them there. A duffel bag lay half-zipped, its contents spilling onto the floor. My instinct screamed at me to drive away, but curiosity, or maybe stupidity, kept me frozen. I rolled my window down slightly, craning my neck to get a better look. That's when I heard it. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, and coming from behind the car. A figure emerged from the shadows, walking toward the sedan with calm precision. He was tall and broad, wearing dark clothing that made him blend into the night. His face was partially obscured by the glare of my headlights, but there was no mistaking the intent in his stride. He didn't glance at me, didn't flinch at the sound of my idling engine. Instead, he walked to the open driver's door, leaned inside, and began rummaging through the duffel bag. For a moment, I considered calling out, asking if he needed help. But something about his movements, calm, methodical, almost rehearsed, made me stay silent. He straightened suddenly, holding something small and metallic in his hand. My breath hitched as he turned, his gaze locking onto mine for the first time. I floored the gas pedal, my tires screeching as I sped away. The image of his expression, a smirk, cold and knowing, burned into my mind. I didn't stop until I reached the safety of my driveway. To this day, I don't know what his intentions were, but I've never driven that highway at night again.